Hi guys, this is College Algebra, Math 1513 at Northern Oklahoma College. I'm on Chapter 3, Section 1. We're going to divide polynomials using long division. Now you guys learned long division in like second grade with numbers. Today we're going to use it to divide polynomials. Remember, poly just means many. Nomials basically means terms. So you're dividing things that have many terms in them. Alright, the first thing I want to show you is I want you guys to have a picture of what we're talking about. Let's say we're talking about a parabola that crosses the x-axis at -2 and +4. There we go. Okay, I'm just making up this parabola. And I'm going to have it come down and circle up like that. But we don't know exactly where the vertex is. So let's find the vertex. Okay, before we can find the vertex, we need to use these. They're called roots or zeros to write the function. Now remember, back in junior high, you guys just called these x-intercepts. Now they're called roots or zeros. Alright, so how do I write a function if I know what the zeros are? Well, one way is just to go x minus the root times x minus the root. That's a nice easy way to do it. What's one of my roots? One of my roots over here is -2. So I'm going to put x minus -2. That'll be one of my roots. And this root here is +4. So x minus 4. That's how we do it. And then let's go ahead and multiply it out. If you want to simplify it a little bit, it looks like x plus 2 times x minus 4, because minus the -2 is really +2. Let's go ahead and multiply that out, and we get x squared minus 4x plus 2x minus 8, which simplifies to x squared minus 2x minus 8. Okay, let's use the function to find the vertex. Now the vertex is going to be halfway in between our roots. So if I count steps here, I mean, this is one way of doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 steps in between roots. That means 3 steps in is halfway. All right. So my question is, what is f of 1? Because halfway, the x-coordinate is 1. I want to know what y is produced when I run the number 1 through the function. All right, so let's run 1 through our function here and see what we get. And we get -9 when I run 1 through it. What does this mean? This means our vertex, our turning point, is 1, -9. Because when I put 1 in, I got a -9 out. So if I find 1, -9, I go 1 step to the right, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 steps down. There is my vertex. That's the turning point. Okay, so my graph starts way up here, comes down through the root, comes down to the vertex, turns around, goes back up, and goes back up through 4. So it comes down through the root of -2 and goes back up to the root of +4. And has a vertex of 1, -9. Okay, that's a little review of what we're getting ready to talk about. Okay, I want you to keep that image in your head, those roots of -2 and 4, and I want you to work backwards now. You already know what the answer is, so let's work back and see what the problem's going to look like on your homework. Okay, given our function that we came up with, x squared minus 2x minus 8, we know the roots are -2 and +4. Given that, that means if I give you this equation, this function, one of the questions I might ask you is 4 a root or a zero of x squared minus 2x minus 8? Now we already worked that out. We already know it's a root, but we're going to use long division to figure it out as well. Another way to phrase this same question is x minus 4 a factor of x squared minus 2x minus 8? We're asking, does x minus 4 go into it? Or another way I might ask it is x squared minus 2x minus 8, our function here, is that function divisible by x minus 4? So these are 3 different ways of asking the same question. Is 4 a root? Is x minus 4 a factor? Is the function divisible by x minus 4? Those are all asking the same question 3 different ways. Now, you guys remember back in grade school, you guys learned how to do long division like this. For example, the number 80, you want to divide it by 3. You want to see if 80 is divisible by 3, and you would set it up like this. This is called long division. We're going to set up our function the exact same way. I'm going to take my function, x squared minus 2x minus 8, and divide it by x minus 4. Now, you guys remember that 4 was that root, or 0. Now, we already know that, but we're pretending we don't know the answer. We're pretending we don't know the answer, and we're going to use long division to see if 4 is a root. All right, the process is the exact same as in grade school. I'm going to ask myself right here, I'm going to say, how many times does 3 go into 8? Or what can I multiply 3 by to get 8, or at least get pretty close to 8? And I would decide on the number 2. Now, over here, I'm asking the exact same question. I'm saying, what can I multiply? Now for this, I'm just going to look at this first term x to answer my question. What can I multiply x by to get x squared? Well, that's simple. I would multiply it by x, okay? Because x times x equals x squared. All right, let's go back to grade school. What do I do next? I multiply 2 times 3 and get 6. Well, let's do the same thing over here. I'm going to multiply my x by my x plus 4. Remember to multiply it. I want you guys to think x times x minus 4. You're not just multiplying the x's, you're multiplying the x on top times the x minus 4 on the side. So think distributive property. Alright, so here we go. X times x is x squared. Watch how I line them up nice and neat. And x times negative 4 is negative 4x. Okay, back to grade school. What did we do next? Well, that looks like a positive 6. I'm going to draw this line here and change the sign to negative 6. That's how I remember it. It kind of rhymes. Draw the line and change the sign. Same thing over here. We're going to subtract x squared minus 4x. Subtracting is really just changing everybody's sign. So I change x squared to minus and 4x to positive. That's subtracting. All right, we do the subtraction, and I get 2 over here on the right. I do the subtraction over here. My x squareds cancel out, which is exactly what I want to happen. I want that first term to cancel out every time. I put my x's together, and I get 2x. Okay, back to grade school. What do we do next? We bring the next term down. So let's do that. Let's bring the next term down. And we start all over again. I go 3 into 20. That'll go 6 times. Over here, I'm looking again. I'm looking at just the x term to answer my question. X times what? That's a question mark. X, whoa, that's a really bad question mark. There you go. X times what will give me 2x? Well, x times 2. Does it need to be a positive 2 or a negative 2? Well, it needs to be a positive 2 because I want my answer to start out being positive 2x. Okay, back to grade school. 6 times 3 is 18. And now back to college. 2 times x is positive 2x. I want them to match up at first. We're going to change their signs in a minute. And 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Back to grade school. Draw the line, change the sign. Back to college. Draw the line, change the sign. 2x goes negative, 8 goes positive. All right, back to grade school. We have a remainder of 2. We'll talk about that in a second. But back in college, my 2x cancels out and my 8 cancels out. What's my remainder? My remainder is 0. What does that mean? Okay, it means my function, x squared minus 2x minus 8, when I divide it by x minus 4, that's this x minus 4 over here, when I take the function and divide it by x minus 4, I get the answer x plus 2. That's what we got up here, with no remainder. 2 other ways of saying our answer is yes, x minus 4 is a factor of x squared minus 2x minus 8, okay, because x minus 4 times x minus 2, that means x minus 4 is a factor. It also means x minus 2 is a factor. When these multiply together, you get our function x squared minus 2x minus 8. That means they're both factors. So we could say yes, x minus 4 is a factor of our function, or we could say yes, 4, just 4 by itself, this 4 right here, remember that was our root? Yes, 4 is a root or a 0 of the function because it went in evenly with no remainder. If it goes in evenly with no remainder, we say yes, it is a root or a 0. And one last thing I want to show you, remember on our grade school right here, we had a remainder. How do we phrase the answer? We say it goes in 26 times and 2/3. 26 and 2/3. Where'd the 2 come from? That was our remainder. Where'd the 3 come from? That was our divisor, what we were dividing by. So remember that. Later on we're going to use that when the polynomials don't go in evenly. Okay, here's what a sample problem will look like. They want to know if you can divide this polynomial by this. Alright, so we're going to write it like this. Now, remember, we look at the first term, the x, and we ask ourselves, here's our question mark, what do I have to multiply that x by to get 6x cubed? Well, that would be 6x squared. And now let's multiply this x plus 4 times the 6x squared. And we get this, remember the rhyme now, we want to subtract that, so we draw the line and we change the sign, okay? 4x becomes negative, 6x cubed becomes negative. My 6x cubes are gone, that's what I wanted. I put my x squareds together and I have 11x squared. Oops, caught a mistake, hope you got it too. That's 24x squared. Put my x squareds together and now I get a negative 9x squared. What's next? Bring down the next term and do it all over again. So back to your question mark, you're going, okay, above my x squared, what do I multiply this x by to get 15x squared? Well, that would be a 15x. Hang on. Oh, I'm really sorry, guys. I am stumbling over this. Okay, we are looking at the first term x and this first term right here, the 9x squared. So our question is, up here, what do I multiply x by to get negative 9x squared? Well, that would have to be a negative 9x. My fault. I'll slow down and do this right. That gives us a negative 9x squared minus 36x. Draw the line, change the signs. Our 9x squareds cancel out, and we have positive 28x. Bring down the next term and do it all again. So we're looking at our first term x and our first term 28x. And our question is, what do I have to multiply that x by to get 28x? We would have to multiply it by 28. Alright, and we get 28x plus 112. We draw the line and change the sign. 28 becomes negative. 112 becomes negative. 28x is canceled out. We're left with a negative 110. Remember, that's our remainder. And what do we do with the remainder? We add it on to the end as a fraction. Remember from that little grade school example, that number goes up on top. So negative 110 goes on top. And my divisor, my number that I was dividing by, goes on bottom. Now there's our answer, messy. Let's clean it up a little bit. Now for our remainder, I had plus a negative 110. I'm just going to write minus 110 over x plus 4. It's simpler. What's this mean? It means our original function, 6x cubed plus 15x squared minus 8x plus 2, divided by x plus 4 equals 6x squared minus 9x plus 28 minus that remainder. It could also mean that our original function equals what we divided it by times that answer. Okay, and one last problem. There's 3 terms out here, but nothing to worry about. You still just look at the first term when you're trying to decide what to put up here. The problem with this is a trick they're going to throw at you. You're missing an exponent. Okay, we have x to the 5th and x cubed and x squared and x. We're missing an x to the 4th. So we just insert a 0x to the 4th because we have to have every x represented, every exponent represented to keep everything lined up nice. So what do we multiply this by to get this? That would be x cubed. Now multiply it out. You draw the line and change the signs, minus, minus, plus. Bring down the next term, and here we go again. All right, question, what do I multiply this by to get that? All right, draw the line and change their signs. That's plus, that's minus. Bring down the negative 9x, and question again, what do I have to multiply this by to get that? That would be a 2x, multiply it out, and you guys pause the video and see if you can finish the problem from here. And there we have our final answer.